Welcome to Season 5 of the Funding Love Adoption Podcast with Mal and Kate. We are two adoptive moms that seek to love, support, and elevate all corners of the adoption triad through honest conversation. This season, we are continuing through our series of walking through the adoption journey step by step by sharing stories, tips, and advice we have learned along the way. So pull up a chair and sip your favorite beverage because everyone has a seat at our table. We are Funding Love, the podcast. Hi, Funding Love family. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Funding Love podcast. But before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to remind you and personally invite you to the 3rd annual fundraising gala, A Night of Dreams. Let's just say that this year's event is going to be, the greatest show. It is going to have a silent and live auction, full-plated dinner, amazing programming, and a VIP cocktail hour for our VIP guests. It's going to take place on April 25th at the Four Seasons Resort Orlando, and we hope to see you there. For more information, visit our website at fundinglove.com/Night of Dreams. Now let's get back to the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of season 5 of the Funding Love Adoption Podcast with Mal and Kate.
That's right. Welcome back. This whole season, we have been talking about that middle part of the adoption process.
Yep.
Season 4 was wholly dedicated to the pre-adoption phase of starting your adoption process, going through your home study, building a profile book. And now we're talking about you've been matched. You have to go to the hospital with the baby.
Yep.
And this episode, we're going to be talking more about bonding with your baby.
Yeah, this is a big one because I think, especially for first-time adoptive families, adoptive parents, once again, expectations of what it should be, what it could be, what you feel like it's going to be, and just managing those that it may not be.
Right.
You talked about this a few episodes ago about not expecting that to be so difficult for you and Mason in your when he was a baby, when he was really young. Let's remind us a little bit about because I can speak, I'll speak real first to our story. I didn't feel as if I had too much of an issue in that. I felt like it was a kind of a pretty seamless thing for me. Now, I didn't have biological children before, so I don't know if that's like a comparison thing too, maybe that you had in your journey. But for me, no, I felt like it was pretty what I expected as far as my bonding. Now, each baby was different and how, they all have their own little different quirks and personalities, even as babies. So that was something different. But as far as the bonding goes, I felt like that was thankfully pretty expected for me. So talk about your story with Mason.
Yeah, so I feel like this is a subject that should be talked about. I feel like it's something that adoptive moms and adoptive dads can feel maybe a little shame around or a little embarrassment, or you can kind of beat yourself up over it as though there's something wrong with you or what's wrong with baby? Why can't, what's going on here? It's not what I expected. I know that our situation was unique. So I did have 3 biological children that I'd already brought home, but also we brought home a 2-month-old. So he had already spent a little over a month or right around a month with his birth mom.
Yeah.
So, this was a very different experience and it was not what I expected. And it was hard. It was really hard. And not having someone to talk about that with or process that with.
Feeling okay to talk about it.
Really hard for me. I would say it's only been something I felt okay to talk about in the past year or 2.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Oh, right.
And I think I've felt empowered through Funding Love. It's one thing I love about Funding Love is that, especially this podcast, but our organization as a whole, we say we seek to love, support, and elevate all corners of the adoption triad.
And have honest conversations.
Honest conversations. So being able to elevate everybody's voices, I think inspired me to step up and say, this was really hard. And it was something that was a catalyst in why I started Funding Love looking back. And so I think it's really important to talk about.
Because that's where you struggled post-placement. That was a big struggle of yours post-placement for you to be like, I need help here. I feel like I'm by myself in this, and to feel like there wasn't that support. But it's so cool that you are talking about it because you are certainly not alone in that feeling and in that struggle to connect in a way that you thought would be so effortless.
Right.
So, and I am proud of you for saying that because I feel like, and I could be speaking out of turn, and the reasons and maybe the the reasons you weren't comfortable saying it before is it kind of discounted your love for your child.
Correct.
And that's not the case whatsoever. None of
No.
that those aren't even in the same conversation. It's
No.
just really the shame of saying, I couldn't do it. Why couldn't I do it? I feel like I can't talk about this because that means he doesn't love me. I don't love him. There isn't that connection, which isn't the case.
Yeah.
So I think, let's dive into that a little more of like encouraging mamas or dads who are in that spot.
Yeah, I think that the post-finalization, post-adoption support is so important because not only did I feel those feelings and I didn't know who to talk to them about, even when I went to the agency, like I did have access to our social worker.
Yeah.
And I remember this was going on even around his first birthday because we had an open adoption, which I love. We still have a very open adoption. I love his birth mom very much. But those feelings really resurfaced on his first birthday because I had no memories of the hospital.
Yeah.
I had no memories of him being an itty bitty baby. And then we were also scheduling a meetup so that she could see him for his first birthday. And it felt very overwhelming. Like, wait a minute. Am I just a long-term babysitter here? Or am I his mom? And I remember even the social worker, the comments she was saying was just affirming, but they weren't helpful. It was like, oh no, you are legally his mom. It is up to you, which I didn't need to hear in the moment. What I needed to hear was, this is normal. I think that's what I needed to hear. Right. This is normal. It's normal to feel this way, and it can and will get better. And here are some practical steps to take this, that, and the other. And let me be very clear, not allowing or shutting out a birth parent is not the solution to you bonding with your child. Yes. Can I just make a statement that she was never the obstacle in me bonding with my child? That was not it at all. So I want to be very clear with that. If you are struggling to bond with your infant that you brought home or your baby that you brought home, don't look at shutting out birth family. If you have an open adoption or you made promises, don't look at that as a solution, because I can promise you that ignoring their biological side does not strengthen their adoptive side. Yeah, it just doesn't.
It doesn't.
It just takes time. It takes effort. It takes repeat things that don't feel natural. So like I mentioned before, like rocking him to sleep was hard because he didn't want me to rock him to sleep. But still doing those things to where I rocked him enough to where I felt like I got some love in. I could tell that he got some love in, but then accepting, like, it's okay if he wants to lay down to fall asleep. As long as we have those moments of feeding the bottle and singing the song, reading the book, like building different bonding routines than him falling asleep in my arms. Do you know what I mean?
Because those will become his things.
Yeah, our bonds. Our bonds doesn't have to be that he fell asleep on my shoulder every night. It can be that we read a book or I sang the same song, which is still true to this day. We sing the same song every night when he goes to bed, and he'll be like, hey, can you send mom in so that she can sing Wish Upon a Star? That's his song. But I think that managing those expectations, not feeling the shame and the guilt around it, and then finding your way to build those bonds. So like I said, making sure that you have, if they're young enough, getting that skin to skin, making sure you're the one that's providing the food, the feedings, the changing the diapers, as much as people want to step in and do the fun baby things, like really making sure that you're doing
those close contact
really
things.
Important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I love that you persevered through that, because it would be easy to be like, well, he's not bonding with me anyways, kind of thing, and to kind of push those moments away. But you still kind of did them. You did them even though it didn't feel comfortable, didn't feel like what you had expected,
or what
natural, or what you had expected, or what you had hoped for. Because you can, as much as you don't want to say that you do, we all have these thoughts and these images and these visions of cuddling up with your baby and like holding them close and rocking them and feeling that. So give yourself grace, and also like, I'm sorry if it is hard, because that is,
it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard, not that it's fun. Hard. It is hard that it's hard, because we all as mamas want that, like those moments. So I'm sorry that might be more difficult to get there than you expected, because that's hard. But
and I think that it goes for any child you raise, biological or adoptive, but especially when you have a child through adoption, it just makes you realize even more that it's not about you.
Yes.
It's really not. You have committed to raising this child, giving them a safe and loving, comfortable place where they can grow and thrive and learn
for a lifetime, for the whole
for a
yes.
lifetime. You're
Yeah.
raising a little adult. And I think that even in those moments, if it's not living up to your expectations, well, it wasn't about you anyways.
Oof.
It's about what's best
Yeah.
for that baby. And maybe what's best for that baby is that they lay down, or they're not cuddled as much as a
Yeah.
normal baby, or they
yes.
didn't want to do all the same things that your
Mhm.
other children did, adopted or biologic.
Yeah, and oftentimes, just to kind of bring this into the conversation, a lot of families have babies through foster care. So when you bring those children into your home and you're loving and nurturing on them, and they may not be receiving it as you've expected, that child comes with a little bit of a story beforehand. Like,
Mhm.
we don't know all of those pieces always in every situation. So whatever that might be, I guess just hold room for that.
Yeah, holding the
Because
space for the grace.
yes, because they're little tiny little babies, but they could have possibly experienced some tough things in those few weeks and months before you're loving on them. So I guess love them extra hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
And
maybe
be
they're
patient with them.
yeah,
Be patient
be
with yourself.
patient with them. Oh my gosh, that's so true with any newborn, but
Mhm.
be
Be
patient.
patient with yourself.
Yeah.
I do want to say too that circling back to how this really inspired Funding Love was that we had memories of taking our kids to Disney.
Yeah.
So ever since our kids were babies, we went to Disney for our honeymoon. We went to Disney
Same.
every year for our anniversary.
Yeah.
And we became Disney Vacation Club members, which is like their timeshare, so you can go back more often and get better rooms. But my first child, he went to Disney at the first time at 3 months old. Our second went to Disney for the first time at 8 months old. And then our third went to Disney for the first time when she was 3 months old. So it was something, taking this vacation and doing things that we did with our other three, that really, really helped
you
our
guys.
bond. So yeah, I think we went in September. He was born. Yeah. So he was 8 months old
Wow.
when he went to Disney for the first time, just like his siblings. And I have to say, when we were in Disney, it was just really cool to be like, yeah, like he's a Disney kid too.
Yeah.
He's an Elrod kid that's going to grow up going to Disney. These are the fun things that we did. These are the same Disney outfits that he's wearing, and we get to take the pictures in the same spots as his
Yeah.
siblings and like build these memories, and realizing how important family traditions are.
Oh my gosh.
For
yes.
bonds, it's not just about the skin to skin and the rocking
Because you
to
hold
sleep
those
and the
memories
reading the
together.
book,
You as a
but
family
it's
hold
folding them
together.
in to those traditions, and folding them in even to new traditions of making new memories in Disney for us was just really, really cool. And so that really was a very motivating factor behind why we started Funding Love and why these vacations are so important in helping these families build bonds. Now, we do have parameters. So every year we open up our applications for adoptive families. And for the first couple of years that we started, like we were a really new organization, we didn't have many parameters. It was like, are you an adoptive family? As time went on and we really honed our mission in like, what is the heart behind this? It is the heart to help adoptees bond with their adoptive families. Because I think we're looking at it as like a mom bonding with her baby. But how important is it for an adoptee to feel like they belong in their family? Like that is so important for them to bond with their family, with their siblings.
Yeah, and to become a strong family unit as a whole.
A strong family unit as a whole, because we know that that's where you really thrive, right?
Gosh, yeah,
where each individual feels like they have that strong family unit as a platform to just jump off of as an adult.
Just as a safe place
to
be in your family unit.
Yeah.
Belong there.
And so these vacations really, really provide that, our adoptive family vacations. And so we have created parameters to where when adoptive families apply, they need to be within 2 calendar years. So it usually ends up being about
2.5 years.
2.5 years of finalization.
From the time you apply at application. Yeah.
And we just find that that's so important because from experience, those first few years, whether they're infants or they're 12 years old adopted from foster care, those first few years are so crucial in creating those strong family bonds, the strong family identity, that feeling of safety and joy within your own family unit. And so these vacations have been really cool to watch those bonds be built.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I love how you use your story and your, dare I say, struggle to like pay it forward and to realize that you weren't alone and that there are other families out there who need this same thing. And gosh, we said it so many times, but what better place than Disney?
What better place than
Disney?
I
Oh my
know.
gosh. And those who are watching who may not be a Disney fan, first of all, my sympathies. Second of all, we can't explain it. And you may not have ever been to Disney, or maybe you don't hold the same affection for Disney that we do. But it works. And just believe us. Watch our testimonials on Instagram and follow along with our families and see the life change that happens in their family unit, because that's what it's about. And then also that just seeps into the community they're building with other adoptive families.
Because one of my biggest struggles was not having anybody I could be vulnerable with. Why did it take me 5 or 6 years to be comfortable talking about it? Because there was no one else that was talking about it with me. And so another thing about our Funding Love vacations is that we send multiple families at a time. Some years we've sent 3, some years we've sent 6. This year in 2025, we're going to be sending 5 adoptive families on an all expenses paid trip to Walt Disney World, and getting to be able to have those moments together where an adoptive mom can look at another adoptive mom and been like, oh, this part was really hard for me. It was hard for you too.
And dads who seem to have that. Like maybe
we definitely had that
quieter
couple,
voice.
Or even biological siblings. I think sometimes we underestimate how hard it is for a biological sibling, someone that was born biologically into that family, to have have children added. It might throw off birth order where they used to be the oldest and now they're not the oldest. And, trying to adjust to that too, having a safe place for them to just have fun and make memories together is such a big deal.
Yeah.
So honestly, our next adoptive family vacation is coming up so fast. In fact, we want you to tune into every episode this season, because we are going to end it with a huge recap of our upcoming adoptive family vacation. But then you're going to get to hear firsthand how important these vacations are for building bonds and community.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need people like you, honestly, to come alongside us and continue to support us in this movement and in this mission. So if there's any way that you want to support these families as they travel, support Funding Love so we can support these families, we, of course, always appreciate that. So thank you for that. But I think that's all that I have in the topic, girl.
I will just add and round it out by saying, if you want to meet the families that are going to be traveling with us, you can go to our website, www.fundinglove.com. If you want to meet the family specifically, it's just /AFV, Adoptive Family Vacation 2025. So AFV 2025. Yeah. And then if you want to partner with us, just like Caitlin said, you can. I think there might be a link on our video if you're watching on YouTube. There's definitely links in show notes if you're listening on your podcast, or you can just go to fundinglove.com/donate. You can do a one-time gift. You can set up reoccurring gifts.
You can actually specifically give to just the adoptive family vacation if that's what you choose to do.
And we promise to steward every single dollar that you give well and for the benefit of those inside the adoption community. So yeah,
that's it.
That's it.
Awesome. That's a wrap on episode 5. Next, episode 6. Can't wait for that topic. That is going to be how we can support birth moms through the process and after post placement. So tune in next week for episode 6. Till then, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Funding Love podcast. Funding Love is a crowd-funded nonprofit, which means that people like you can help make a lasting impact in the lives of adoptive families and birth moms. Visit our website at fundinglove.com today to give, visit our swag shop, or purchase tickets to our upcoming fundraising gala, A Night of Dreams. When you partner with us, you are funding love.